Coming up, we go one-on-one with MEDC Executive Director Meredith Harris. All aboard for a behind-the-scenes trip up Mount Washington on the COG. These stories and more coming up now on First Edition. Welcome to First Edition. I'm Zoe Zandora. Recently, the Marlboro Economic Development Corporation held their founders meeting. They have been in business for 11 years. Meredith Harris has been executive director for about a year and a half. Dan Ginnan sat down with her for a few good minutes.
The Marlboro Economic Development Corporation has been around since 2006. It has had a strong and positive effect on the city, and for the last few years, it has been even more successful. That has a lot to do with its executive director, Meredith Harris.
So the MEDC has been around for 11 years. You've been here a year and a half running it as the executive director. And I feel like you've done almost 11 years work in that year and a half.
It feels like it. Some days.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about what it's been like as the executive director?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, when I came to MEDC, more than 2 years ago at this point, it was, as the business outreach coordinator was my original position. And that was a lot more getting out into the companies, boots on the ground and, really just ground up trying to get things going. But the executive director role is a lot of that and then a little bit more. There's a lot more visibility in being out, at the council meetings and interfacing with different levels of executives and people in the community. And it's been a lot of fun.
I've worked with you a bit, and I see the passion and the dedication. Dedication so much so that you and your husband moved into Marlboro.
We did.
I mean, how can you ask for more than that from your executive director?
It's been amazing. So in the way that I sold Mike on coming to Marlboro, we came here, it was the Fireball Run, and it was a program, an event that we were running. It took a lot of time, a couple of months, where there was this group that was coming in, and we were going to be filmed, and they were here in the downtown, and I somehow convinced him to come on a Saturday morning and help me set up for the event. And by the end of the day, we had been looking for homes for about 6 months at that point, all up and down 495. And he works in Boston and came to the event, and he looked at me at the end and said, "You know what? This is a community that I can see us, really putting our roots and starting our family here." So it's been phenomenal. We've been here since January and can't ask for a better community to be a part of.
You've heard some people who don't fully understand what the MEDC does. They think it's the opposite of a chamber of commerce, whereas like the chamber does small businesses, but the MEDC doesn't. But that's not true.
It couldn't be it's the furthest from the truth. So MEDC, our job, and I like to say all the time, we complement the chamber, and we work very well with the chamber, and it's kind of our job to bring them in, and it's the chamber's job to service them once they're here. But we do focus on large companies, and I think a lot of, my predecessor Tim, worked a lot to attract the larger companies, and we had these big blocks of space that were sitting in the city, and the vacancy rate was really high. And so at the very beginning, when MEDC was around, it was kind of, attract, but now we're able to focus more on the retention. A big part of economic development is not only the attraction of the companies, but the retention of the companies as well. So since, my role as executive director has been a lot more about still filling some of those larger blocks, but also filling some of the smaller blocks that are available, and making sure that the small business and the existing business that it's here stays here and is thriving here.
Now, you guys had a brainstorm session months ago. I forget exactly when, so forgive me for that. But you were basically bringing in members of the community to talk about what we can do to upgrade Marlboro. Can you go into that a little more detail?
Absolutely. And I'm shocked you don't remember, Dan, because you were one of the facilitators at our brainstorming session.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast 3 hours ago.
Yeah, no, it was a great, event, and I think at this point, we've been around for 11 years, and this was another 5-year planning session of, here, this is what we've done, this is where we've been, where do we want to go? We've filled a lot of those larger blocks of space. We have the economic development toolbox, which is here to service the existing business and the smaller local business. But what do we want to do for 5 years, and what's our plan? And the brainstorming session was really kind of cool. It was an event that we've never done that format before, where we invited residents, and we had small business owners, board members, counselors, you name it. And we actually had asked the counselors to bring anybody in the community that they thought might be interested in providing some input or just want to get in the room and talk to some of the folks that we had there. And it was different faces, and we were able to get a lot of good direction for the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And then you had the founders reception not too long ago, and you basically unveiled what the plans were, and you unveiled that wonderful video that the MEDC had done. Can you just talk about Marlboro in general?
Absolutely. It's my favorite thing to do. So, in the 5-year plan, and of course it evolves over time, but, the things that we're going to be focusing on over the next 5 years, downtown. We can't forget about downtown. And I think a lot of people, when we have the Apex Center coming in and some of the bigger developments, the fear is that downtown is going to be lost. But it's not lost. In downtown, we're on the brink, I believe, of a real revitalization down here. And it takes time. And I think people sometimes say, hey, we've been working on this since 2014, and when's it going to happen? But I'm happy to say that the new Thai restaurant just opened up in downtown. I believe it was yesterday. We've also got, an Irish American pub tavern type of concept that's coming into the old Sully's building. And then we also have the brew pub that's coming to downtown. But with all that being said, we still have a lot of work to do. The zoning was changed in 2014, and that's phenomenal. It's given us a lot of things to work with, and it's a great way to market the downtown. But we're still looking for a couple of those good developments to come in, and so more to come on that. It's definitely a priority of ours. We talked a lot about the city brand and branding Marlboro as a destination, and we've got the sports center and the hockey kids coming in all the time, and with the new entertainment complex, Marlboro's really on the map. And so we're going to continue to work, towards building that brand of Marlboro.
Mm-hmm. But you touched upon Apex a bit. You and I have seen it through from the beginning. It just looks great, and it's very exciting seeing things opening up in there now, just a year later.
Yeah. Last night we just had the 110 grill, the ribbon cutting. It's awesome. And I have to say, I know we joke a lot that we didn't believe Robert Walker when he said he'd do it in a year and a half, and hey. Here we are.
It's been done, and I still don't believe Robert Walker. I think he's crazy.
You said it.
He's heard me say it plenty of times. So how long do you see yourself being part of the MEDC here and part of this community? Is it a place you want to be for a long time?
As long as they'll have me. No, I mean, it's a great, it's a great job. It's a lot of fun. I've got a great team of people here behind me that, we do a lot of fun, different projects. And, the last 6 months or so has been really, focused on the amenities and building the brand. And, it's just something different every day. And as long as we can continue to have an impact on the community in a positive way, I'm here.
Well, Meredith, thank you for all your hard work over a year and a half, and thanks for taking a few good minutes with us.
Thanks, Dan.
Marlboro is a city with a great central park, and our producer Mike Lawton headed off the beaten path with Priscilla Ryder to Galone Park.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Off the Beaten Path. Today we're exploring Galone Park, which sort of has two different sections. One is the recreation section, and the first part we're going to walk is this paved trail that goes out through the woods and then around the track. And then we're going to explore some of the more natural, the nature trail area and the state park, which is another very large area that's a great place to go for a walk. So the great thing about Galone Park is it has this great paved path that's near the track. So if you're interested in walking or running or walking your dogs on a paved path, the path at Galone and the bike path are both places where you can do that, where some people aren't quite as comfortable in the woods as I am, but so this is a good place to sort of be out in nature, but be on a paved surface, especially if you have a stroller or something and you want to get your kids outside. This is a great destination. So on a hot summer day, if you want to come out have a picnic, Galone Park is a great place to do that. The trail that goes around outside of the track has about 8 or 10 picnic tables like this. And right now there's a beautiful breeze, there's nice shade. You can look across and you'll see where the track and the soccer fields are. But it's a great place to come and have a picnic. And today I'm also with Karen Paquin, who is our newest Conservation Commission member, who has also been a land steward and taking care of some of these properties that we're going to see. So today we're at Galone Park, and this section of the park is the nature trail section, and it connects to quite a few parcels of property. It connects into the state forest, And then we have acquired some additional land off Ewald Ave, which makes this a huge park now. So we'll take you on the trail and show you what we've got. Right, so along the trail, there's a short portion of the trail that's a nature trail, and there is a brochure that talks about each of these points and what you'll see. So you can go online, download that little brochure, and each of these markers, I think there are 13, will tell you a little bit about what you're seeing and what nature you should be looking for and what's out here. So go online and take a look at that and bring it on out.
Okay, and here we have a nice patch of a native woodland plant called maple leaf viburnum, which flowers obviously at this time of year. It's very beautiful. It's almost ready to flower. And right there on the ground, another lovely native called the Solomon seal, also in flower. So a little bit off the path, you can see this wonderful outcropping of rock. And you can imagine that maybe it's a family of coyote that would have their homes here. It's a wonderful habitat for coyote and also for porcupine. And it's really a beautiful site.
It's always fun when you're walking out in the woods to be able to identify certain things. So we'll tell you a little bit more about ferns. This is called a royal fern. And again, it has a fertile frond that comes up where all the seeds are. And this is a beautiful specimen. It really likes wet feet, so it likes to be either close to wetland or in the wetland. And right in this area, we have 4 different ferns. We have this royal fern, we have the interrupted fern, which has the fertile frond interrupted on the stem. And then over here, we have the cinnamon fern, which has the cinnamon frond. And again, only this time of year is it so prominently, identifiable. But again, it has the hairy stem that makes it, that sort of looks like it has a cinnamon coating on its stem, which is easy to see when the frond has gone away. And then right behind it, we have the hay-scented fern, which likes disturbed areas, and it's a great fern in the woods. And then the last fern that we have is the sensitive fern, which also likes it wet, and it has this fertile frond that sticks out in the middle as well. So it's one of the other ones to identify. So it's really fun when you're out in the woods. The more you know about it, the more you can appreciate the outdoors. Whether you're listening for birds, whether you're looking at specific plants, it just makes the walk even more pleasant and more exciting. So Galoni Park is a very large park, and there are actually 7 trail access points for the trail system that makes up Galoni Park and the State Forest. There's the main entrance at Galoni Park. There's an entrance off of Hemingway Street. There are 2 entrances off of Concord Road, not including Galoni Park. There's an entrance off of Hemingway Street. There's the entrance we're at right now off of Hemingway Street, and further down right next to New Horizons. Oh, and one off of Ewald Ave. And so if you live in any of those neighborhoods, you can get into the park without having to drive all around to Galoni Park, which is great. So a portion of the trail is actually an old roadway called Old Hemingway Street, and it gets paved up to a certain point, and then it becomes part of the park, the State Forest. And it ends up off of onto Concord Road, but it used to be an old roadway, and now it's turned into the park, and it's part of the path system. So another plant that you'll find over here at Galoni Park in the nature trail area is a plant called spicebush. And the interesting thing about spicebush is that it has quite a fragrance. It smells a little bit like lemon pledge, so you can tell that it's that. And then it has some berries that are really good for birds in the fall. This one is having some flowers right now, but it's a plant that likes a little bit of wetness for its feet, so it's along the edge of wetlands. So this area that we're in right now was an area that about 5 or 6 years ago was logged, and we're seeing lots of new growth and resprout between some of these bigger trees. And one of the things that we're surprised to see today is some American chestnut. And there's a big history about American chestnut. And Karen, do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. So behind me you see a pretty large specimen of American chestnut, maybe a little higher than 20 feet. And that's probably as old as it will ever get, because unfortunately back in the 1900s, some Asiatic chestnut trees were imported and they had a fungal disease which they were resistant to, but our American chestnut were not resistant to. So these trees will typically grow to be 20 or 25 feet and they will not reproduce and they'll just die. So right now there is an effort being put out by the American Chestnut Foundation, and they are sending out hybrids of the Asiatic and American chestnut trees and asking folks to plant them so that we can have our chestnut trees back. They were very, very important in the last 100 years in the timber industry and furniture making and things like that, and they are really quite a lovely tree.
So here's another nature fun fact. When you see some small saplings, and again, this area had just been cleared of logging, so these are brand new saplings, and you can tell how old they are by how many rings they have of branches. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is its 5th year. So this is a 5-year-old white pine tree. So you'll see as you walk along, the woods change a little bit, but you'll also see that the woods is pretty messy. There's lots of downed trees, and there's also layers in the woods. So there's like layers of branches and different shrubs and trees. And all of those are really important to the habitat of the area and what birds want to hang out here and what wants to be living here. And the more diversity in height and the layers, the more different types of animals you'll get. A lot of people in their yards want it to be looking kind of park-like, and they want to be able to see through things. Nature doesn't really like that. Nature likes messy because it creates places for bugs, and then the birds can eat those bugs, and then those, the cycle continues. So we're just trying to let you know that when you walk through here and it looks a little bit messy because there's just lots of layers and there's lots of dead wood, it means it's great habitat. So as you walk through the woods, you can look at places where you see some dead trees, and some of the dead trees have holes in them. And you can see the dead tree behind me has some holes that once a tree starts to die, then it gives a situation where the bugs can start to decompose the tree, and then the bugs attract the birds, and the birds want some bugs to eat, so they make little holes and extract the bugs, and that whole cycle is great. And then those little holes that some of the birds make then become little cavities for other birds to nest in. So it's all part of the nature cycle, and so when you see those dead trees and snags, they're definitely the restaurants and the condos for a lot of birds out there. So what I love about these trails is that every trail is slightly different. It has different aspect. You're either in this case we're at the state forest, and we're on a hill and you're overlooking a stream below, and the woods are pretty much more open than at some of the other places we've been today. That's all part of the same park. So it's just amazing to me as you walk around, you get to a place and you're like, oh, this looks different. And then you go to the next place and you say, oh, this looks different. You look up and you see it has a different set of canopy, different kind of trees and different undergrowth. And each of these places has sort of different birds. And we've just been walking through here and hearing an ovenbird chirping around. And so there's just lots of different wildlife around. So when you walk, just keep your ears and eyes open and enjoy all the different scenery.
The Cog Railway is a National Historic Treasure. Since its inception, it has taken visitors to the peak of Mount Washington in New Hampshire. We hopped on board for behind-the-scenes look at people that make this train go. Once again, here is Dan Ginden.
The Mount Washington Cog Railway is the world's first mountain climbing track. Opened in July of 1869, this one-time dream of Sylvester Marsh has become a reality. Back then, it was an easier way to get up the mountain. But now, this National Historic Engineering landmark is an exciting tourist attraction. The Cog runs 2 of these steam locomotives, plus 6 biodiesel ones. Each day, these trains make multiple trips up and down the mountain. That is, as long as Mother Nature is agreeable to it. the top of the mountain has the worst weather in the world. Google it, kids.
All aboard!
Whoa! Running as a rack and pinion system, the cog travels 3 miles to the top west side of the mountain. Today, we're getting a ride from Eli and Phil.
Good morning.
Morning.
Love those shades.
Thank you.
Get ready, we're about to take off. Hold on to your hats. It's a blistering 2 miles an hour at first. My name's Eli, and I'll be your guys' brakeman. Our engineer's name is Phil. This here is Phil. Hello. Very important man right here. Without him, we couldn't get anywhere, so.
It's a very unique job. My office is outdoors and constantly changing. Every trip is different, every day is different. I mean, I can go from middle of January to in a 50-mile-an-hour hailstorm to being able to see the ships in the coast of Portland. You know, so it's definitely an experience every day.
Phil Baroni has been at this for over 20 years. He got the job right out of high school and never looked back. Eli August is only in his second year, but this guide and brake man enjoys how much involvement there is in the job.
There's a whole lot of other stuff to do up here, you know, working down in the shop, where they build the coaches and trains. You know, you get to learn a lot about just a lot of new stuff, so it's a pretty well-diverse job.
So while Eli rides the front of the car up and talks to the riders because the brake work is done on the way back down the mountain, Phil does all the heavy lifting here. He showed us how he runs the train, which looks an awful lot like an Atari I used to play in my basement when I was growing up.
Depending which side I hold it is forward and reverse. And I've got buttons on it to control acceleration and deceleration. One button is the horn. The other button is what we call the dead man switch. Every 2 minutes an alarm will go off and I respond by hitting that button. And I have it goes off every 2 minutes. I have 5 seconds to respond. If I don't respond, the train stops motion and it'll come to a stop. But if I keep pushing it, the alarm will never go off and just starts resetting the counter. If anything would happen to me, I pass out or whatever and happen to fall on the joystick so the train keeps moving, it'll go for 2 minutes and then it'll stop the train.
A big part of Eli's job on the way up, after explaining safety procedures, is to talk about the history and facts of this amazing engineering feat.
We've officially reached our maximum speed of 5 miles an hour. So hold on tight, everybody. Now that we're at our full speed, I'll let you know you're all good to get up and move around throughout the coach. So we're coming up to the passing tracks here. This is pretty cool. These switches are neat. You know, they were all customized and blueprinted and built right here on the mountain. These passing tracks were put in about 6 years ago. Big game changer for us. Now the train comes to a stop before every switch, and we're gonna slow down, come to a stop here. I'm gonna signal Phil and let him know that we're all good to head through this switch here. It's locked in place and set in the right position.
The waving signal from Eli to Phil isn't the only communication between the two. After the next passing track, they need to stop and switch.
We're coming up, and we always leave the switch thrown for the next train to go through it, which is going to be me coming down, and I have to go down the other side because there will be upcoming trains coming up the track we just did. They're run by remote control, which I have right here, and it's all hydraulic, and it's powered, but it's solar powered.
As they move further up the mountain, the weather turns. It becomes harder to see. It's nothing out of the ordinary, though. There are many more poor weather days than good weather days at the top. There are days when the wind speeds are so strong that the train won't go all the way to the top. The hurricane-force winds would topple it easily. Remember, this is the worst weather in the world. Phil will never forget.
When I was a brakeman, I actually had my roof of my coach blow off because the winds were gusting over 100.
As this train ascends to the top of Mount Washington, there's no such dramatic wind gusts. There are no trees either, just plenty of rocks and grass. Not the kind of rocks you would expect, though. Eli explains, and added a bad joke, one that I would tell.
A lot of people think these rocks are granite, but you know, New Hampshire's the granite state, so you'd think they would be, but they're not granite. They're taken for granite. Mike, you want to edit that one out? That was bad. They're taken for granted because, you know, a lot of people don't realize that these rocks actually are what give the White Mountains their name. They're called mica schist, and when the sun shines on them, the mica gives off this white sparkling glimmer. And that's where the White Mountains gets their name, is from that white sparkling glimmer coming in the mica rocks. You know, a lot of people think it's because of the amount of snow that we get up here, the White Mountains are always white. But it's actually these rocks, the mica on them, that gives the White Mountains their name.
As the train reaches the top of the mountain, Eli hops off so that he can guide Phil right up to his stopping point.
M3 on the summit. ASAP, call the count, meeting 1. All right, we are here.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. Hey, enjoy your stay. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Good. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
For more stories on Marlboro and the Metro West area, keep tuning into First Edition here on WMCT-TV. Plus, you can check out the latest news every week on WMCT News, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Fridays at 6 p.m. I'm Zoe Zandora. Thanks for watching First Edition here on WMCT-TV. Enjoy the rest of your week.